And this one does look like a really solid cooperative game, but one thing to note about this one is that even if you are playing with less than 4 players, you still will be using 4 heroes out on the board. But I don't think it's a huge issue for this one because of the nature of the game. This one is more of a strategy game, but each of the heroes are unique and they'll have their own set of stats and abilities. And also each of the hero cards are double-sided, and there are ways to upgrade your heroes throughout the game. And anytime that you're able to do that, you're going to be flipping them to their upgraded side. And this is a game that offers quite a lot of variability because not only are you going to be able to choose 4 different characters from the larger pool of characters that are available, but you're also going to be choosing a quest that you want to try and complete for each of your games. And there are a whole deck of quest cards that you'll get to choose from, with each of them having variable difficulty, length, their own set of lore, along with their own special rules and different effects that could trigger at different points in the quest. But they'll also outline any special setup or modifications that you'll have to do in order to play that quest. But before I get into the round structure and how the game actually plays, I first just want to explain to you what you're seeing with all these cards out on the table here. And it's not too complicated, even though I know there is a lot going on in this picture. But essentially, each of these quests is going to be sending you to 1 or more regions, and you're always going to be resolving these one at a time, but you're going to be drawing that region card, and then it's going to provide some details as to how you set up the main play area. Each of the regions can have their own set of special effects that will apply as long as you're in that region, but they could be conditional as well. And it also has these numbers in the bottom left corner here, which dictate which type of proximity cards you're going to be putting out for this region. And the proximity cards are the 4 cards on the outermost corners here. What's really interesting is the way that your heroes are put out into play, because you have your 4 heroes in the center of the play area here with these Sanctum cards located between them. And what's really interesting about that is that that Sanctum card is actually going to be pairing those 2 heroes together that are adjacent to it, combining their health together and then applying the total health to the Sanctum card, because in this game your heroes don't actually take damage. Instead, the damage goes to the Sanctum card, and if that Sanctum card is completely depleted of its health, then both your heroes get knocked out together. There are some actions that do allow you to swap your heroes amongst each other, and anytime that you do that, it will be changing that total amount of health that your Sanctum card has, since it is the sum of the 2 heroes beside it. And that might be something you take advantage of in order to send your more strong heroes to the Sanctum card that isn't doing so well. Card located directly above the Sanctum cards is just your quest card, so that's going to be outlining the requirements of that quest and what you're trying to achieve and any special effects. But then the cards on the outermost left-hand side and the outermost right-hand side of the play area here are your threat cards, and they're going to be attacking the hero that is directly beside that card. And depending on the quest and the region, more of these could be spawning every round, and there usually is a starting amount of threats that will be revealed as soon as you set up that region. These proximity cards that I mentioned before will all have some sort of special effect that could be positive or negative or situational even, but essentially that's going to be affecting whichever one of your hero cards is closest to it. So you might even want to swap hero cards amongst each other just to put one of your heroes next to one of the proximity cards that are either a little bit more beneficial for it, or maybe even lessens the negative consequences that you might get from it. But another really cool aspect of this game is the way that the actions work, because each of your heroes are going to be able to perform one action in the hero phase, and your actions that are going to be available to you are going to be determined by this action board in the bottom left corner of this image here. And there's going to be a grid of different actions, with the red ones costing you 2 action points, and then the blue ones costing you 1 action point. But the amount of action points that you're able to spend for that round is determined in the top right corner of that card. So in this case, all of your heroes could take red actions since there are 8 action points to spend, but if all of them took the blue actions, you don't get to use those 4 extra action points. They are just lost to the game, and this all resets on the following round. But the actions can allow your heroes to do things like attack, heal, defend, or scout. And scouting is really important because it's going to be moving this green token out on this track, which is referred to as the scout track. But each of your regions is going to have a certain number associated with it that indicates the amount that you need to scout that region in order for you to be able to leave that region for another region. You're not required to do this, but it does give you the option, and depending on the quest that you're trying to complete, you might have already achieved what you're doing at this region and you'll want to move on to that next one. But some of the other actions might allow you to use your proximity cards or even use some of the equipment or items that you might have attained throughout the game. And there's also an action that allows you to taunt enemies to pull enemy cards into your battle line. And there are also actions that allow players to trade or assist the other heroes, or even swap positions with another hero card. Whenever a hero performs an action, they're going to be covering that action with their hero token, indicating that no other hero can take it for that round. But after all 4 of the heroes have performed their actions, it's going to be moving on to the threat phase. And all you're doing here is resolving any of the attack damage that the threats might have inflicted on your heroes. And of course, you're going to be subtracting any defense that your heroes might have at that time. But then after you've resolved all of that, you're then going to be resolving each of their special abilities, if any of the enemies have any. Finally, you move into the region phase. Just follow any instructions on the region card in order to set up the next round. And then you're going to be discarding the action card that you had in the previous round and putting a new one into play. The game continues like this until either the heroes have completed the objectives of that quest or until the heroes are defeated. But if you are interested to check this one out, I will have it linked in the description below.